865.
865. Dari Kamboja ada berapa?
Yang dari Kamboja ada 16, Bu.
Tetap ya. Yang dari Filipina ada pertambahan sama Swiss, Jerman. Seharusnya kita jangan live dulu ya. Kita live pas kita start aja.
Iya benar itu.
Belum di live, Bulan. Ini cuman baru di record.
Itu udah live.
Ini udah live ini tulisannya. On custom live streaming service.
Mohon maaf Bunda, izin menjawab. Untuk live-nya ini nanti akan dimulai jam 9.
Oh, oke. Tapi kalau udah ada tampilan kayak gini, artinya masih proses menuju ke live atau gimana?
Iya Bunda, itu hanya disetel pengingatnya saja, tapi mulainya jam 9.
Yeah, I see, I see. So it's just a reminder, Pak Futi.
I got the background.
Yep, perfect, Pak Futi.
Good morning, Mr. Futi.
Pak Futi masih di mute.
Good morning Ibu.
Ya,
Apa kabar Ibu?
alhamdulillah sehat, Mr. Futi.
Alhamdulillah sehat juga.
ជំរាបសួរលោកស្រីសំស្រីលីនអាចបដូរឈ្មោះទៅជាភាសាអង់គ្លេសបានណា
Ya, Pak Putih.
Som Sri Lin, I asked her to change to English name.
Yeah, I also cannot change my name. Oh yeah. You mean how to pronounce my
No,
surname?
the participant from Cambodia.
Oh, the participant from Cambodia.
He
Yeah,
write
so they cannot rename themselves or
her write in Khmer language. So
oh.
I asked her to change to English one in
Oh.
order to
Yeah.
recognize by other people.
So still the native name.
If you want to gain more friends in the world, should change this writings.
Yeah, because only Pak Putih can read it.
Yeah.
Pak Putih mungkin bisa di rename speakers and your name, please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, sorry, still wrong.
Yeah, perfect, Pak Putih. Yes, so Dr. Mercy, good morning. Please, Emanuela.
Distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
We are delighted to welcome you to our international webinar with the Student Union of the Early Childhood Teacher Education Department, Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Selamat pagi semua, kami sangat senang menyambut Bapak, Ibu, dan saudara-saudara sekalian dalam webinar internasional Himpunan Mahasiswa Jurusan Pendidikan Guru, Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini, Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan, Universitas Negeri Surabaya. And I would like to say thank you for Director of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Profesor Dr. Nur Hasan, the Vice Rector of Planning and Partnership, Dr. Surjowanto MPD, the Dean of Faculty of Education, Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim MPD, the Head of Department of Early Childhood Teacher Education, Ms. Nurul Fatima, SPD, MPD. The lecturer was responsible for the Department Student Affairs of Early Childhood Teacher Education, Ms. Wulan Patria Saroinsong, PhD. Felita Haryaningrum, the head of the Student of Union Early Childhood Teacher Education Department. And Suci Nur Fauzia, the head commit of International Webinar of Early Childhood Teacher Education Department. And also all speakers and participants of this international webinar. Welcome. Dan saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih untuk Rektor Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Profesor Dr. Nur Hasan, Wakil Rektor Bidang Perencanaan dan Kemitraan, Dr. Surjowanto, MPD, Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan, Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim, MPD, Ketua Jurusan Pendidikan Guru PAUD, Ibu Nurul Khotimah, SPD, MPD, Dosen Penanggung Jawab Kemahasiswaan, Jurusan Pendidikan Guru PAUD, Ibu Wulan Patria Saroinsong, PhD. Felita Haryaningrum, Ketua Himpunan Mahasiswa Jurusan Departemen Pendidikan Guru PAUD. Dan Suci Nur Fauzia, Ketua Webinar Internasional. Dan juga semua pembicara dan peserta webinar internasional ini, selamat datang. This webinar brings together teachers, academic, and influencers from across countries who are responsible for delivering youth creativity, intercultural education in the global pandemic era, and also youth resilience in innovation to achieve international recognition for the SDGs. Webinar ini menghadirkan guru, akademia, dan influencer dari berbagai negara yang bertanggung jawab untuk membahas kreativitas anak muda, pendidikan antar budaya di era global pandemi, dan juga resiliensi pemuda dalam berinovasi untuk mencapai rekognisi internasional dalam SDGs. This webinar provides a great opportunity for prospective participants to share their experience in dealing with education, especially for early childhood. As such, this webinar will feature presentation by international speakers, which are cutting-edge session topics. Our speakers webinar are Raju Sahrial Ilhami SCAP, PhD, Soft Skill Trainer at Indonesia Health Training Center. Who will be presenting about what are the SDGs and what are the characteristics of young people to success in the SDGs. Dr. Idfuti MSc MA, Civil Service Ministry of Education, Youth, and Sports, Kingdom of Cambodia. Deputy Program Director, Seameo Sesep. Minister of Education, Southeast Asia Regional Center for Early Childhood Education and Care Organization, who will be presenting about the teacher's role in developing effective distance learning. Dr. Mercy Karunia Jesupadian, lecturer at National Education Institution and General Education Official, Ministry of Education, who will be presenting about how is the resilience of family accompanying their children in the pandemic era. Before we listen to the presentation of our amazing speaker, we will listen to the national anthem of Indonesia, followed by UNICEF Mars. Distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the Vice Rector of Planning and Partnership, Dr. Surjawanto, MPD. Forward, we would like to request Vice Rector of Universitas Negeri Surabaya to officially open the International Webinar 2021 held by Early Childhood Teacher Education Department. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Sujarwanto, MPD.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Untuk kita semua, Honorable Dean, Vice Dean, Department of Education and their staff, guest speakers, Dr. Futi from Semut Cacep, Dr. Mercy Karunia, Mas Muhammad Raju Sahrial Ilhami, as well as webinar participants. Good morning, selamat siang. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, our country, Indonesia, is being hit by the COVID-19. Not only Indonesia, but big countries such as America, UK, India, Spain, France, almost the world is affected by this pandemic. The number of positive cases and death rates continues to increase every day, so that several countries take steps to eradicate the spread of the COVID-19 virus by looking or implementing quarantine in an area. Our President Joko Widodo has also given a mandate to the governor and the region to do a lockdown in several areas where there are very high positive cases of COVID-19. To help break the chain of the spread of COVID-19, the government decided to carry out online learning. Ladies and gentlemen, teachers have their challenges in developing learning during a pandemic. Especially the school was a second home for children. It has turned into a home as a school for children. A teacher must continue to supervise the learning of the students, although not directly, but through their parents. This change makes parents inevitably have to be able to become teachers for their children and function a home as a place to study and learn for their children. It also forces parents to share tips and experiences on how to educate, guide, and train their children also to make the world house a friend to their children like a school. Those requires everyone to be active at home, making parents try to balance work and caring for children. However, adjusting to this new routine is not only pressure for parents because children feel it too. Ladies and gentlemen, with this internal webinar, it is hoped that it can be active effort for UNICEF to support Indonesia in dealing with the pandemic and maximize the provision of material as well as learning, even though we are at home. Finally, we'll come to the webinar and its series of supporting activities. Hopefully, what we do today is useful for all of us. Have a good discussion. Thank you very much. Unesa one step ahead, Unesa satu langkah di depan. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Pak Wiro 4.
You're welcome to Wulan. Thank you Dr. Putih. Thank you Dr. Mercy. Thank you Mas Muhammad Rajo. Terima kasih.
Thank you,
Pak.
Dr. Suryawanto MPD, for the opening speech. Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the head of the Department of Early Childhood Teacher Education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Nurul Fatima, SPD, MPD.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
My speech be upon you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wan Patria, PhD, all lecture and your participant. My speech upon you, Honorable Rector and Vice Rector, Bapak Dr. Sujarwanto, MPD, Bapak Dekan, Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim, and dear speaker, thank you very much, Muhammad Raju Syahrial Ilham, soft skill trainer at Indonesian Health Training Center, Dr. Itfuti, MSCMA, Xiaomeo Cecep, and Dr. Mercy Karunia Jasowodiet, lecturer at National Education, Institutional and General Education Official. Thank you very much. Also, all webinar, all participants, good morning and best visit for all of us. First of all, let us spare the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala with the most, because with this permission, today we get together to join international webinar Wedding Pendidikan Antar Budaya di Era Pandemi or Intercultural Education in the Global Pandemic Era. Ladies and gentlemen, in 21. Country Indonesian, it still would be coronavirus or COVID-19 and got on some of COVID-19. ladies and gentlemen, with this webinar activity, we hope that can active effort by your university's support. Ladies and gentlemen, our department, Early Childhood Education, is a department that aims to program graduate, prospective kindergarten, who have noble personality and can educate kindergarten. Net development can adapt STEAM fails the development of vocal, national, and global communication. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays, Indonesia share children education have more 400 active studies. We also various active in include national storytelling and second place international dance competition, campus men and women competition, and many more. Have a good discussion. Terima kasih semuanya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih Bu Nurul. MC please.
Thank you, Ms. Nurul Khotimah. We are now continuing our webinar to the next agenda, which is to hear the keynote speech will be delivered by all our expert speakers from all across countries. But before that, let me read the rules for the participant. Rules of participant. 1. Access to the Zoom will open 5 minutes before the event starts. Audience identity in international webinar must use a real name, not the name device. The format is determined by the commit, institute, name, example, UNESA, Suci Nur Fauzia. Dress neatly and behave politely during the event. Audience are expected to turn on the camera and mute during the process International Webinar 2021 underway. Audience are expected to use a virtual background determined by the commit. Audience can ask questions in the chat room with format institute, name, question. Or it can also be done by raising hands from the Zoom computer. The moderator will convey some of the participant questions to the presenters because limit discussion time. Certificates are distributed to audience who takes part in international webinar active from the start until the end. Extended link will be shared at the end of the session. Attendance links is only active for 30 minutes after the webinar activity takes place, and the attendance list link is not allowed periodically. Audience must take screenshot or capture screens of each presenter as evidence have attended the webinar. Audience who do not fill in the registration from an attendance list from will not get certificate. Audience are not allowed to convey things that contain identity, sentiment, or pornography in the comments. Without any further ado, let's hear the keynote speech, which will be delivered by all our keynote speakers. The keynote speech will be moderated by Ms. Wulan Patria Sarinsong, PhD. From now on, this webinar section will be led by Ms. Wulan. Ms. Wulan, time is yours.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And good morning, everyone. Yeah, I hope you are doing well. Yeah, because in this pandemic era, we cannot predict yeah, for the future. And yeah, today we all already have distinguished speakers here. Yeah, but before we start, let me call the Honorable Rector and Vice Rector of UNESA. And for all the distinguished speakers and for our head department, Bu Nurul Kotima, and for all the proudly participants that have participate in this special occasion. Welcome and good morning from Indonesia. As I understand, we are all come from over the countries, yeah, from Cambodia, from Philippines, from Thailand, Swiss, as well as German, yeah, and good afternoon, and good evening there. Yeah, so before we start, I'd like to read, yeah, our keynote speaker's CV, yeah, first. Yeah, so for the first speaker, we have, let me share the screen. Yeah, so my screen is clear, right? All right, so we have the first speakers, Mr. Raju Sahrial Ilhami as CEC. He's a trainer soft skill of Indonesian Health Training Center. Yeah, Mr. Raju, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Ms. Wulan. I'm very amazing right now. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So you also have some standing achievement, right? As I recognize now, you are the recipient of the 2021 Indonesian Education Ambassador Honorary Award from IPPI and PPPI. Yeah. So very glad to having you here. Yeah, and for the next oops. Yeah. So let me share again. I'm sorry for this technical issues. Yeah. All right. So for the our next speakers, we have Dr. Itfuti, yeah, MSc MA, yeah. He's program director, yeah, from Siamio Chechep, yeah, and he's from Cambodia. So very glad to having you here, Dr. Itfuti, yeah. And we have also here Dr. Mercy, yeah, Dr. Mercy Karunia, yeah. How are you, Dr. Mercy?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you.
Yeah, I hope everything's going well. And Dr. Mercy, he's a lecturer, yeah, in NIE, yeah, National Institute Education, yeah, in Singapore. So welcome welcome, and thank you very much for fulfill our invitation today for all the speakers. So let me stop share this. And without further ado, we are going to the first speaker today, which is Mr. Raju. Mr. Raju will deliver some presentation related to what is SDGs and how the youth resilience in order to achieve this SDGs program. I think this is a bit similar with the Dr. Futi presentation, but Dr. Futi perhaps will focus on the professional teachers and related. All right, so for the Mr. Raju, so please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for Ms. Wulan Patriasaro Insong, SPSI MPD PhD, for presenting me. So, hello everyone, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, peace be upon you. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. First of all, before I'm going to start this material, I would like to say thank you for Director of UNESA, which is Prof. Dr. Nur Hasan MKes, and then for the Vice Rector that giving opening speech, which is Dr. Sujarwanto MPD, and then the head of department, Mrs. Nurul Fatimah SPD MPD, and of course the speakers, Dr. Futi RMSCMA and Dr. Mercy Karunia J. And thank you so much for the committee for having me, and thank you so much for these webinars. And I got limited time exactly it's because of the committee tell me that I have to present the material about 30 minutes. So without further ado, let's just start this material. So first of all, I just want to share my screen first. Okay, sorry. Okay, everyone, this is my screen. Okay, so at the first time I told by SISDEA, which is one of the committee, that I have to tell and giving the material about what is the SDGs and the characteristic of young generation and how to make SDGs success. I believe that you guys are already know about what is the SDGs, what the essence of the SDGs, and what is the program of SDGs itself. And I believe that SDGs are always being implemented in every single region of the world, especially in your own country. And before we are going further, and this is my little photos. I hope you guys are seeing crystal clear, and thank you so much for attending this. So let's go into the next slide. So for the first material, what is the SDGs? I believe that you guys are all having already know about what is the SDGs and what kind of the SDGs that you have applied to the society, or what kind of SDGs that you've been implemented to the society. So based on the website of the SDGs, it said that the SDGs, also known as the global goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. So that's a little point of SDGs based on the website of SDGs itself. So the second material is that these SDGs recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in others. So it's kind of a bit like this, everyone. If you are going to implement it on the society, if you have a problem and you share it to your friends, and then your friends giving you advice and giving you insights to do something like that in a positive way, and then you are applied on your social daily life, people will see your own effect. People will see your own outcomes, that they can follow your own footsteps. So that's why the SDGs recognize that this action in one area will affect outcomes in others. But not about that. It must be balanced about social, economical, and environmental sustainability. So let's go into the next slide. So here we go. This is the 17 main priority program of the SDGs itself, which is we already know, which is number 1 is no poverty, number 2 is zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality of education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities, and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institution. And then the last is partnerships for the goals. And we all know that these programs should always be implemented in the forms of society, whether it's in city or whether it's in district or in region or in regency. But when we are seeing the implementation of that, there's not all region that having these literacies, because of in Indonesia itself we have a diversity, which is in the low tide we have 17,000 island, and in the high tide we have 30,000 island with amazing diversity, with amazing cultures and human values that we always know as a unity and diversity in Indonesia. But will about that, there's a lot of borders area that come across from Indonesia, and we always should looking for something like that to see that do the borders area are having this literacy, do the someone who are living in borders area knowing about the SDGs, or do the someone who are living in border area know about everything about the SDGs. So that's the priority that we should always have as a young generation in Indonesia itself or in every single country in the world. Okay. After we are going to listen about the material before, there are 3 challenges that we will face in the implementing of the SDGs in Indonesia itself. This is from infeed at economybusiness.com, the article that I've been read, which is namely communication strategies, financing, and preparing regions to adopt and implement the SDGs in each district or city. Let's just bold and underline the preparing regions to adopt and implement the SDGs in each district or city. As I said before, do the people who are living in the borders area knowing about the SDGs? That's a big question that we have to give a mark about that. So that's why it's just kind of really important thing that we should always be focused on about that. So after we are going to focusing about that, there are a media to give the intervention and implementing about the SDGs platform or program to the society, especially in our own environment, which is we are studying in the university, and then the university having students from across Indonesia that having a lot of backgrounds, having a lot of different places. So that's why we are as a youth and young generation having a lot of characteristics to emphasize what we have with our own passion and abilities to make the implementation to the society. But there are a lot of characteristics such as this kind of values that I can have from the community to tell to all of you in these webinars about telling the characteristics of young generation. Based on the Michigan's coding.org, there are 5 main characteristics of young generation itself. Number 1 is expects technology to simply work, which is we already know that we all want to have the material or want to have the tools that really making an easy work for us to do our own homework from the lecturer, for example, or something like that. And then the second thing is youth are very social generation. We already know that humans are a very social person. We can collaborate with others, we can cooperate with others, which is it's very similar in number 3, which is collaborate and cooperate, making an organization, making a platform, discuss about everything that we can have, and then looking for some relation. And then number 4 is looking for an adventure. We already know that we as a youth, we as the voice of young generations should always looking for some challenges for us. What can we do next after we are finishing one task? What can we do in the future? What can we do to serve to the society and to contribute to this nation? And the last thing is passionate about the values. Yes, of course, as the young generation, we have to adding our own more values to facing the global climate change and facing the global work exchange, something like that. So after we are already know about the youth characteristic, there are a problem too in the young generation of this, which is from the data we already didn't know about what is the data that really focusing and support this kind of values. But a problem of youth in this area after we are facing the characteristic of that is that there is a lot of young generation who are still having loving fighting spirit. Why so? Because we can see on the television, we can see on the media, online, there are a lot of information, there are a lot of headline news that are related to young generation that they have a lot of loving fighting spirit. So what kind of the examples of this fighting spirit that very low is that first, war between one school to another school. We already know that in television, there are a lot of news that one school having war, fighting with another school. And then the second example is that young generation that are having drugs and then marriage, early marriage, or pregnant before they are finishing their own study. And then the last example is that doing riding in the road or something like that, that necessary, unnecessary. So that's the example of low fighting spirit in young generation. And there's a lot of examples too, but based on the things that I've been following before, these four main loving fighting spirit example are really rampant in Indonesia.
Kak Raju.
Yes.
Permisi, mohon maaf, Kak
Yeah.
Raju. Boleh minta tolong di stop share screen lalu di share screen ulang karena mohon maaf sekali ini ada banyak coretan yang kami tidak tahu dari mana.
Okay, siap. Thank you.
Terima kasih.
I'm gonna stop share my screen first, and then I'm going to share again. Okay, let's continue about this because we have limited time, which is 30 minutes. It's not many time to doing the material, but let's do our best. And then after we already know about the examples of the fighting spirit, there's always the question. So what is the best characteristic that youth should have to support the implementation of the SDGs? What is the base manners or attitudes you should have to implementation of the SDGs itself? There's a big question. And then one of the most answer that to support this question is that a characteristic to learn and to serve. It's because of we are studying at university about the values of our background, which is I believe that everyone that comes in this webinar having a lot of background in healthy, same as me, like I'm a nursing student or something like that, and then in economical, in entrepreneurs, or in educational field, like the community held these webinars, and then we all learn about the values that we can have from the lecturer and then implement it in our daily life to the society, what we can do to contribute and to be dedicated. So the characteristic that the young generation should have in this era is that the characteristic to learn and to serve, to contribute and to be dedicated. So after we all knowing the characteristic to learn and to serve, to contribute and to be dedicated, there is a question again. So how we can implement it in society after we have those characteristics? So as Mrs. Wulan said and read on my CV or curriculum vitae, I'm an education ambassador of Indonesia, which is can called Putra Putri Pendidikan Indonesia, which is I'm becoming the first runner-up. And then that's why I brought a thing that called an advocacy. So advocacy in pageant, it's called something that we can bring to the society to help those in need, and then to help something really bad in the society so they can uplifting their life easily. So as my background as a nursing student now at my university, I've been doing a lot of programs with my lecturer friends and then in the nursing department to do a whole education implementation to the society for 3.5 years, which is it's an advocacy that I brought to Putra Putri Pendidikan Indonesia. So with this kind of advocacy, I believe that you guys already have to, and then you guys already have the advocacy to your own daily life. I believe that education itself is not come from one shape, but education is come from many shapes, which is like called education, entrepreneurs education, economical education, tourism education, culture education, which is it's really diverse. And I believe that you guys having your own department too in your university, which is with your own background study. So if there is example that if you are going to have an entrepreneur's education, you have to do an advocacy for the entrepreneurs, and then going to the SMIs, uplifting them to have the literacy of social media, making a program with your organization, making the program with your own platform to serve to the society, to inform about what is the benefits of social media to the enterprise or the economical thing that can really support the national economy of the SDGs program itself. So we can hand in hand and work together to emphasize our own passion, to uplifting and to build our own characteristic to serve to the society, especially in borders area, because that's the biggest question that we are that I tell in the before, and then it's kind of something that we all have to focus on, because I believe that the power of young generation are very diverse with their own passion, with their own talent, skills, ability, and performance also, and then with their own background. So with this advocacy, I believe it could be something that we can support the SDGs to be successful and implemented in the borders area, so that the people in borders area who are having lack of technology, lack of education will know about this kind of a program that called SDGs with our own educational program, which is an advocacy. So before we are going to finish this material, I have one video about my advocacy that maybe it could be inspire you to do the same thing like mine, and then implementing it on society to support the SDGs and the national conditions that are really rampant and then we are facing nowadays. So I'm going to stop my screen and then I'm going to share a video to all of you guys. Wait a minute. I hope the time is enough. Maybe it's 1 minute video.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Raju.
Thank you, Mrs. Wan. I really got an amazing day now, weekend, because I can meet all of an amazing people and amazing speakers. And then I got a little bit nervous now, Mrs. Wan, if you want to know. Okay, wait, I'm looking for the video. Okay, got that. Okay.
Young generation, having freedom to speak, freedom to learn and act, and freedom to access everything. I am an ordinary youth with extraordinary dreams. Health education is a way for me to achieve my goals, to spread positivity through my passion, background as a nursing student. I believe weak mind with a healthy body will produce a better future for education. In order to provide that, Merdeka Belajar, a new program, new solution, new innovation, and this is my time to call to action. Will you join me? I, Raju Yohan, from West Java to Indonesia.
Okay, everyone, that's all about the video, but I will continue to share my screen again. So that's an advocacy that I've been done with my own friends and lecturer in my university about health education. I got an advocacy that called Speak Your Health campaigns, because there are a lot of society that are very worried, very didn't know how they can implementing their own health in their daily life, because we are fixed the health issues, like how we can serve to the society. So that's the thing that you can copy about that, and then you can make something that is amazing with your own way, because I believe that the power of young generation are really big and really can make a change to the environment, especially to this nation and to this country, and of course to the world. So I think that's enough about the material. Thank you so much for the time. And then before we're going to finish this material, and I have the platform for you guys to emphasize your own communication skill in terms of having your own advocacy, which is edutalksproject.id. So if you want to uplifting your own communication skill or something like that, you can follow our Instagram at edutalksproject.id, and then you can follow on my own personal Instagram, which is Raju Sarial. So we can connect each other and share more about the values and discuss more about what can we do to serve the advocacy to support the SDGs. So I think that's enough. Sorry if I got my mistake, and thank you so much for having me. I'm going giving this time again to Mrs. Wulan Patria Saro Insong, SPSC MPD PhD, as the moderator. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Raju. It's a wonderful presentation that you have delivered. Yeah, and also, yeah, very inspiring video teaser, right? Yeah, and I like to ask, who is the video maker? Yeah, because I want to ask also for me. Yeah. So yeah, before we are going to the QA session, yeah, so we have a 10 minutes QA session, but right now already joined with us Dr. Wahyudi, yeah, from Siamio Secretariat, and I will be happy to call him here, Dr. Wahyudi. Hello.
Yes, Wulan, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Wahyudi,
So-
thank you so much, yeah, for joining with us here. And I would like to invite you, perhaps you have something to talk here and give us the brief remarks, perhaps. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, Ibu Wulan. Indeed, well, I'm not dressed properly. I'm very casual, okay? So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Futi for last minute invitation. I would like to congratulate the committee for, hosting the international webinars, especially focusing on intercultural education global pandemic era for the youth resiliency. So for the speaker, Mas Raju, thank you so much for sharing such a motivating, inspiring things for us. Indeed, it is a great honor for me and also hopefully for everyone's to be in this very important forum. So Simu Secretariat indeed also focusing on the SDG. This is our together's assignments. How can we reach the SDG despite these very challenging times? So Ibu Wulan, I think the most important things from our sides, we would like to extend our thanks, appreciations for the committee, the NIE, and the UNISA. Before, actually we met before in our SIMU Congress. Also SIMU Cecep for this India Force. Okay, wishing everyone have a fruitful, meaningful, and also move together to achieve our SDG. Okay, stay safe and have a fully plus Saturday and webinars. Thank you so much, Wulan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Wahyudi, yeah, for the very brief remarks. But of course, it's a very insightful for us and inspirational also. And we hope also you are doing well there and keep safety. Yeah, and now we are going for the QA session, yeah, which is for the PPT or presentation from Mas Raju. So please, if you have any question, you can deliver from this chat box or from our YouTube live streaming, or you can also directly deliver your question here. Any question here for Mas Raju? So perhaps I have one question for you. Yeah, Mas Raju.
Hello.
Yeah, so, oh,
Hello.
yeah, from Andy Agustian. Yeah, hello, Andy.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Yeah, hello, Andy.
Okay,
So
I'm
please.
Andy Agustian. I'm from Indonesia, Yogyakarta. That was a great, amazing event. Thank you. Yeah, my question is for Raju as an Indonesian education ambassador. That was a great presentation, especially about advocacy. As we know, as a youth, the advocacy is very important to influence and also to inspire all the people, especially youth in Indonesia. I just want to know from Mr. Raju perspective, what is the biggest challenges when you do your advocacy, and what is the memorable part when you do your advocacy? Thank you.
Yeah, please, Mas Raju. That's a good question, I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Andy Agustian, which is one of my friends too that come across from Yogyakarta, Indonesia, for the question, which is, that's one of the big question that I have now. What is the biggest challenge when I do my own advocacy to the society, and when is the best part when I do my own advocacy to the society? Which is for the first question, what is the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge to the society is that the connection to the society itself, because we come from someone who are living our life with our own passion. We are going to the society, we can connect with them, we can collaborate with them. But the biggest challenge is that the connection itself, do the society really known about us? Do the society really known about the material that we brought to them? Do the society really know about the advocacy that we have? Something like that. That's the thing that always becoming a challenge. So how the society can accept me to apply my own advocacy to the society? That is the biggest challenge that I always think on my head, because I always think that, okay, I have to do this program. I have to do this program to emphasize the health issues to the society. But the biggest challenge is that, how if the society didn't know me? How if the society didn't know the program that I have? How is the society didn't know about the advocacy that I brought? So to facing about that, I really closely to the society to make a communication, to make an intervention of introduce my own self, and to browse the portfolios of my advocacy with my friends and lecturers before that I've been talking before. And it's kind of something that we should always know, to introduce more our own values so that they know about what kind of values that we have to doing an intervention to the society itself, to do our advocacy. So that's for the first question. And then the second question, what is the best part while I was doing my advocacy? I think that the best part while I was doing my own advocacy is that they can accept my advocacy, they can understand my advocacy, and they can follow the instruction of my advocacy itself. So that's why becoming something really amazing if I feel success to do my own advocacy in terms of that, oh, finally they are understanding about what I said. Oh, finally they want to follow about the instruction that I give. Oh, they want to do a tutorial about the things that I've been doing before, or oh, finally they are really want to work together with me to fix about health issues in their own society. So that's the best part of the thing that I have while I was doing my advocacy, is they cannot accept me for everything I've done, for everything I gave to them, for everything that I've told to them, and for every intervention that I give to them. So that's the challenge, and that's the best part from my perspective with my own advocacy. Thank you so much, Dr. Andy Agustian. Thank you, Mrs. Bulan. That's the question that I've been answered.
Yeah, all right. So that's a nice answer, right? Yeah, so if I can ask one question for you, so how you manage your time in other side you were students, and you also have many achievements that you have achieved till now. So would you mind to share with us?
Okay, thank you. I'm not mine. So that's all about the time management, I think. The time management for me while I was being a student, and doing my own advocacy and having my own achievement, following a lot of organization and having a platform. I always believe that when we are stepping our foots in one step, there will be a lot of challenge for us to open up in the society, in the environment. And I believe with the challenge, it could make us be more wise to think and to do actions for ourselves, for our goals, for our achievement, and for our life. And the things that I always do to manage my time, becoming student, becoming someone who are giving the advocacy, is that I always do a journaling. I always list everything that I've done. Okay, in this afternoon, I would like to do this. Okay, in the next day, I would like to do this. And I'll always doing it in one book that I always browse to everything. And I've got the influence by my biggest inspiration too. And then it's kind of a really amazing values if we can't do it and easily. And I believe that you can do a journaling too. And then by that, we can make a priority. What is the best priority? I believe that education is most priority, but not about that. To support the education, we always have to seek about what kind of values that we have from another activities. Because I believe that one of the biggest challenge for the student is that maybe we can call it, kalau di Indonesia itu biasanya ada sebutan kayak it's called like kupu-kupu, kuliah pulang. So I always talking to myself, how if I'm becoming kutu-kupret, kuliah prestasi, or becoming a student that having a lot of productivity. So by that, I can't make a priority. I can doing all things to list everything that I have on my own journaling, on my own self, to applicate it on my own daily schedule, daily work. So that's the things that I always do to do my own time management. I think that's Mrs. Walan.
Yeah, all right. So excellent, I think, right? So for all of you that you like to be like Mr. Raju, yeah, you can follow his strategy. So first thing that you have to think about the challenge, right? Yeah, so you should have big dreams and how you will overcome all the challenge of in the front of you, and how you list. Yeah, so the second one, listing everything that you will do in the future. And also you should have the icon that inspire you, right? So if I can know, if I could know who is your icon that you mentioned before.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I believe that everyone having their own idol, or everyone having their own inspiration, such as, oh, I like BTS, I like girls, something like that, baby. So I also have those things too. But most important thing, my own role model is always been, because she is a productive mom. She is always told to me like, okay, you have to be productive in all your day. You have to be independent, and then you have to be a modern man of yourself, and then becoming something that giving the impact to the society. And because I see that my mom having a lot of activities too, like doing their own, his own activities, like becoming a mom or having to go to work or something like that. I believe that it kind of is something that really makes me who I am today. So having a lot of experience and amazing I can have. There is one thing that missing. I forget to tell to all of you about the activities that I've been done. How we can doing time management itself is that you have to have the ability to analyze, because if you are becoming a student and you want to go to the next activity, or you want to go to a part of your achievement, you have to have the ability to analyze. if you are becoming a student and if you want to have the achievement, you have to think the risk. You have to think the risk if you are following these activities. What is the risk about your education? What is the risk about your study? So that's becoming the biggest part of everything of it, that the ability to analyze something is really important. But I think the biggest inspiration of me, yes, of course, it will always be my mom.
Indeed, always mom is everything. Right. Yeah. Yeah, because you know the time is very limited. Yeah, so maybe we can talk after this. Yeah, because it's very interesting also for our students. That I believe after this your presentation, it can lead them to be more exceptional, right? So they can have a good time management, and I believe my students and all students that who already participate in this occasion can take the good lesson from your presentation. Yeah, thank you so much, Mas Raju. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the speakers and committee.
Yeah. Right. So now we are going to the next speakers is Mr. Dr. Itfuti. Yeah, Dr. Itfuti, are you still here? Join with us.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Itfuti, today we'll present about what is SDGs, and perhaps it's more related with the teacher professional. Yeah. So Dr. Itfuti, please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. Thank you, Ibu Nurul, Pak Wulan, and Pak Suryawanto is the Y rectors. I share my PowerPoint by myself, or you share for me? I share.
As you convenience. Yeah.
You can see mine.
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, I introduce my self first. My name is Mr. Wuti. I'm a Cambodian. I work for the senior CHECHEP as a deputy director for programs. I will talking about the achieving the sustainable development goals. This is also the mandate that mentioned by Dr. Wajudi, senior secretariat, as one of the senior organization that are also dealing with the SDG goals. Why is can move? Okay, very slow. Okay, you can see the commitment of the world for the ECCE.
Yes.
You can see and hear my voice very well?
Yes, very well.
Okay. You see the global commitment, regional commitment, and also the national commitments. From the global commitment, all the countries, agreement by the country who have promised to protect child rights. Here there are 54 articles about the child rights. So the member of the United Nations should promise to protect the children rights, this one. And then about the SDG goal, we have SDG goal for number 4 about the quality of education. Yeah, I will discuss more detail in the next slide. For the CMO, maybe some of you don't know, CMO is a abbreviation from the Southeast Asian Minister of Education Organization. There are 11 countries, started from Brunei up to Vietnam. So Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, up to Vietnam. So we have 11 senior member country, and the minister developed the 7 priority for us to dealing with. But the first one is achieving universal early childhood care and education. So because of this webinar, most of the participants are the teacher from ECCE department or the student from ECCE department. So we focus on the number 1 of the senior 7 priority. And then we go to the national one. This is national for the Republic of Indonesia. Indonesian also, what we say, concerned about the ECCE development, ECCE education. This is a preschool of education. If we see the education, there are preschool and school level and high education. School level, we have elementary school, secondary school, and high school. So the government of Indonesia have the policy about 1 village, one ECC center. Jadi satu desa, satu PAUD in Indonesia. And then also from the Ministry of Education of Indonesia also focus on the ECCE, at least have a compulsory 1 year of ECCE learning before entering to the elementary school level. So from the world and regional and national, it focus on the ECCE. I think in the future, it will be composed in the education. Education is started from the preschool education, and then school education, and then high school education. About the SDG goal of the SDG goal by the 2030 agenda on the sustainable development adopted by the United Nations member state in 2015. There are 17, it's mentioned already by Mr. Raju. Is 17 sustainable goal, which is an urgent call for action. Urgent call for action. So every country should be action for the SDG. Urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing. In the world, there are 2 kinds of the country. One is developed and another one is developing country. In Southeast Asian, mostly is developing countries like Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, Philippines. In a global partnership, so you should have the global partnership. They recognize that the ending poverty and other, this is our target to ending poverty, and also the prevention must be go hand in hand with strategy that improve health, education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while attracting climate change and working to preserve our ocean and forests. You know, you can see nowadays many countries that have forest burning everywhere, in US, in most in the world. So the climate change, because one of the also the forest burning. And then we will go to the next slide. Okay. Why is it not moving? Yes. We have 17 sustainable goal development. I will not will talk about much on this because it's the first speaker already talked about this one. The number 4 is our duty, our higher education and our Ministry of Education that focus on the quality of education. How we can make to improve the quality of education. There's the 2013 is 30. We hope that our target no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, good quality of education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industrial innovation and infrastructure. In Indonesia, I think is most of the country is infrastructure development is much more better. Reduce the inequality, sustainable city. We have the smart city. We have also sustainable city and community. Responsible consumption and production. Many kind of food that could be consumption. And then climate action. Life below water should be attention life below water and life on land. Peace, justice, strong institution partner for the goal. You see in the pandemic from the data of these ones. From the data of this, most of the student, 45% is proficient in reading, and 9% cannot read, and then 46% can read. Now, the goal number 4 is stated that ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote long life learning opportunity for all. This is our university everywhere. You should concern to promote long life learning opportunity for all. It's still in development goal. My laptop is very slow. Don't want to move.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're still waiting.
I don't know why. Why is it like that? Why is it like that?
Perhaps you can stop share first, yeah.
Yes, it's moving. A 5-way policymaker can improve the quality of education. This is in the USA. They should acknowledge and address our crowding class. If many, you see the case in Southeast Asian, the teacher can teach several classes, but here is one class is many. Is not the what we teacher ratio anymore because our crowded, because when it is crowded, it's less effective. And then the funding for school in USA as a priority. In USA, they are 44% for the education, but mostly in Indonesia, in Cambodia, there are 20% of national budget for the education. That is agreements in the parliament for the education. Address the school prison pineapple, because when the student drop out from the school, it's nearly 60% go to the prison. They do the thing that prominent by the law and the governments, like drugging and also criminal. So this one is in USA, and then Number 4 is very important to anywhere, any country, write a standard for teacher. Even developed country and developing countries should think about this, because underqualified teacher are tied to the poor outcome of student. So it's very important, this point. Put the classroom running and curriculum building decision into the community. So in Indonesia we have the Kampus Merdeka and what we say belajar Merdeka, Merdeka Belajar. So independent learning and then independent campus to know the curriculum building decision in the hand of community. It's 4 ways to achievement. This is in India. 4 ways to achieve quality of education. Take initiative. Talk to the parent about the initiative plan to get the student on board together with us to study. We take the students on board with us. Talk to the parent, government. Talk to government also, facility, give the real examination example to help them understand better. Train teacher, update skill, motivate teacher. This one is the same with the number 4 boss. Train teacher, update skill, motivate teacher to teach student, teach kids. Advocate and spread awareness. This one like we do now. We what we say, we spread awareness to the other teacher and students, right? Awareness about the important, significant education. Quality of education is a crucial factor in combating power and inequalities in society. We need also about the student and teacher need to know about the 21st century skill to master and preparation for the success in the rapid change digital society. If you don't change yourself, you cannot follow the development of society and then rapid change of the technology. And you should, one is learning and innovative. This one is they are foresee, creative thinking. If you don't know and problem solving, some of my teacher in Cambodia, they have problem with registration. So, but they try to do, and then they can reach these ones. Creativity and innovation, communication is very important. What is the voice from there?
Yeah, I apologize, Pak Putih. Participants, please mute yourself.
Yes, it should be from the committee to unmute them to don't talk. And collaboration is very important. This is in the learning and innovative. And then we have also digital literacy, information literacy, media literacy, and then ICT literacy. ICT is a abbreviation from the information communication and technology. And then we have also about career and life. It's flexible, adaptability, initiative, self-direction, social cross-culture interaction. You know, in Southeast Asian, most of the country are Buddhist, and Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia are Islam. So you should know how to live in Buddhist situation and also in Islam situation. Productivity and accountability. At least you have to produce for your family, accountability for your family, and then to the institution, and then up to the ministry, and then to the countries. It's, at least you have the accountability for your family. This is about the CMO member country or CMO Asian ECE policy response to the COVID-19 new normal preparation. This I make a summary from the webinar of the Minister of Education from 11 countries. This material is synthesis from the CMO Secretariat and CMO CCEP joint webinar, as well as the CMO Ministerial Policy forums on COVID-19 response. Because now is the pandemic 19, COVID-19, all the schools are closed. Not only Indonesia, but the other CMO members country also closed the school, and every online learning for most of them. But the ministry issuing some policy related to the COVID-19. We have all CMO member countries are facing the similar problem, but having same point of view that young learner ought to be well taken care during the pandemic COVID-19. Online learning has been one of the alternative breakouts in learning, which can be preserved until the new normal phase. Indonesia now is starting to face-to-face, but should be tightly follow the health protocol. Parent involvement in nutrition, because most of the country in Southeast Asia, there are many stunting in several countries in Southeast Asia. Guiding the children is essential during online home-based learning. So need the guide from the parent for learning at home, as they are first teacher indeed. So the parent is the first teacher indeed for the students. You see, to supporting curriculums respond to COVID-19, all the CMO member country are adapting the same curriculum during the pandemic, but doing the same adjustments in teaching and learning process. You see this one is the CMO member country: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDO, Malaysia, Republic of Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. In Singapore, you see the flag of Singapore. Since 2016, the Early Childhood Development Agency, the abbreviation is ECDA, has launching StarKid programs. A program for children from low-income family. So for low-income family, to enhance them to have good start in life. Kids Start programs support parents with child development, coordinate and strengthen and holistic to support for family where needed. Nominator and development of the progress child from birth on earth. In Singapore, if the poor family cannot, cannot have a laptop, cannot have iPad for learning, the governments from this StarKid, they lend the equipment for learning. Parents should are provided the educational resources and also reinforce their learning at home. So this the policy from Singapore. Again, I don't know why.
Maybe the connection is a very low, Pak Futi, so we should waiting.
Cannot move.
Yeah, this is the problem for online. Yeah, one of a crucial problem. So yeah, so we're still waiting. Don't worry. But perhaps you can stop share first and you reshare.
Share again.
Yeah. It works, Pak Putih?
I don't know why.
Oh, it's not working. So let me try from my side. You can.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, this is we abstract from the ministerial policy webinar, international webinar for this one, teaching and learning process and school management. You see in Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, and Vietnam, they have the broadcast learning. This one, you know, Indonesia also have the TV TV edukasi, and Cambodia also have this one. And then we see in Thailand, they have the online learning. Also Indonesia also have the online learning. We see in Timor-Leste, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore, it's home-based learning. Home-based learning. And then Brunei, Cambodia, Philippines, and Timor-Leste, blended learning. They also send the teacher to community to teach the students. This is a different model of the online learning to support to be success the SDG goal. And this one is about the teacher professional development. Of course, the government of Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Philippines, Timor-Leste, and Myanmar, they are focused on digital learning. And then IT knowledge, it should be known for the teacher, and then online tool application. Each Ministry of Education conduct the teacher professional development like training to the teachers to improve their competency. Again, don't move. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Still no. This one we are talking about the school facility and funding. For Brunei, they provide laptop, PC donation, free internet packet contribution from the national provider. Brunei is very rich country. Education from the elementary school up to the high school, no paid for the students. Cambodia developed platform software, teacher digital forum, and then to establish new digital TV. Also, Malaysia, they have the digital platform via Google Classroom. Myanmar established the new digital TV platform, free textbook distribution. So they send the textbook to the community, to the student for learnings. Philippines, IT and learning material development support. Timor-Leste is a free face mask, sanitation distribution, and also establishment new digital TV, YouTube, and cell phone application platform. Again, I think so 30 minutes, it can be 1 hour.
Yeah, it's okay, Pak Putih.
Huh. Why is it like this?
So shall the committee help you to share your
Yeah,
PPT?
please
Yeah.
committee share
Okay.
for me.
Yeah. So please host.
Oh, there are 500 participants for this international webinar.
You can go to the next slide.
Next slide and make it so slideshow.
And please make it slideshow.
Yes, back to the next one first. Back slide.
So please, yeah.
Okay, this one is already school facility supported by the Ministry of Education and developed by the ministry. Is the policy from each Ministry of Education from Brunei, Cambodia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, and Timor-Leste. Next, please. Next slide, please. Also slow.
Next slide.
Also
Yeah.
slow. The
Yeah.
all senior member country, I told you already, started from Brunei, Cambodia up to Vietnam, 11 senior member country are adopting the same assessment during the pandemic COVID-19. But Malaysia started clearly on, they start to adopt the holistic assessment approach. Mr. Prakosal is the director of the Early Childhood Care Education Department from Cambodia, also attend this. Next, please.
Yeah.
My boss also attend this.
Yeah, so welcome, Mr. Prakosal.
So this is the initiative for the word improvement of the Asian country. Asian and CMO is more or less the same because Asian, there are 10 countries, CMO 11 countries. Because Timor-Leste not yet as the member of ASEAN. So toward improvement of education in the future, in ASEAN, we should unifies the education framework. Until now, we have also the framework for ECE, Teacher Competency Framework for in South Asian that developed by UNESCO. Should be established Asian standard for ECE center, building curriculum, delivery mode, and then to meet the local needs, unify the curriculum and highly recommended achieve the desired goal of one community, because Asian they want to be a one community, one identity. And then number two, to improve the quality of education, each country need to improve the quality of education system because graduate lack of skill. So need to improve the educations. Next. Also slow, Bulan.
Yeah, and we just have a 10 minutes left.
Be patient, please, participant. There's the technology, we cannot solve this one. Number three is scholarship. I think UNESA also provide many scholarship to the student, lecturer exchange, To develop the student potential, enable to confident step, educating the teacher, school, principal, and educational personnel to upgrade their professional competency. And then innovation and strongly motivated. Motivated, many kinds of motivated. In Indonesia, they have what we say certification of the teacher is the one of policy that motivate all the teacher and lecturer to do their self-developments. And then regional skill competency. This is my suggestion to the UNESA. You should do the skill competition on what that can be supported from the Southeast Asian. Support competency development and achieve regional standard on competency. Next, please. Increase using our English language. You know, in Southeast Asian, our 11 CIMO member country, in Brunei, Indonesia, and Malaysia, they use Malayu language or Indonesian language. They can understand each other 80%. But the other country, three, like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, the Philippines, they use their own language. So for communication, we cannot understand each other. So increase usage of English language is very important. The key toward development CIMO region, teacher, lecturer should rely on the importance of being communicate in English as an important tool. Number 6 is e-learning, online learning, as distance learning or open learning. This is Indonesia. We have UT. Universitas Terbuka, Open University, to increase access the quality of education and increase the number of ECCE center and online teacher training to teach online. It's very important. Before a pandemic, not so important, but now it's very important for us to do the e-learning or online learning or distance learning or open and distance learning. Open, that means open that learning you can learn. And then universal education, access, equity, and quality. Free education like in Brunei from the age of 5 up to the university level. Next. Internet connection also.
Yeah, now I think it's already in the next slide.
A collaboration obstacle, because we are different language use is now is different ones to make obstacle for us for collaboration. Language factors. Language is the main factor for all party because most of Asian people should get good English ability, but the people are not really good for English communication. The food factor, because some country are Buddhist, some country is Islam. If you want to do the exchange lecturer, exchange teacher, or student exchange, it will be the problem. This one difficult to adopt to the test of the local food test. And also difficult to find halal food, especially in Cambodia. Mostly is not halal food. And then religion factors is in Cambodia, maybe in Vietnam, in Thailand, the not many mosques for the for implementing the Friday prayings. Next, please. A recommendation from this presentation, learning the best practices from the 11 minister. School can be partly open and cater the volunteer student to follow the sustainable protocol during the pandemic in the same way as in Singapore, and then learn from Vietnam. We can consider about to send the hard copy of material directly to the parent at home, and then to overcome the internet and electricity issue. And then also number 3, TV and radio broadcasting could be developed not only, why is it like that? Where's the slide?
Host, please. Maybe some technical issues again. Yeah.
And then for the more information, kindly you can see also in our website, YouTube, Keynote. Number 3 is very important. They should develop broadcast and could be developed only rely on the national committee, but also collaborated with private channel to ensure wide reachability is for the students. Next, please. Thank you very much for your attention. This is my office in Lembang. If you want to go there, it's very cold in our office, no air conditioner. The natural air conditioner from outside, we have no air condition, but it's very cold there. If you want to go there, just have a see our office in Lembang. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, so you can stop share, host.
Yeah, yes.
Please. Yeah. All right, so thank you very much, Pak Futi. It's a very insightful and educational for us, especially for a teacher and parents. Yeah, so as we understand, CMAO CCEPs already have many ways in order to achieve the SDGs, yeah, even in this pandemic era. Yeah, so we have many best practice that we can learn from this presentation. Yeah. And for this session, yeah, next session, please, if you have any questions, yeah, you can deliver in the chat box, or you can ask directly, or you can raise hands first, and we can admit you to unmute yourself. Yeah, so please. But I think here we already have in the chat box, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is from Bu Kartika. Yeah, Bu Kartika Rinakit. Yeah, she's a lecturer from UNESA. Yeah, she asked about the one of 17 SDGs point is equality education. So, Pak Futi, would you mind to explain the indicator of the quality of education, please?
Thank you very much. As I told you, this the important one is the national budget of the country should be prioritized for the education. So in Indonesia, I don't know, 20% of the national budget for education. In Cambodia, the parliament also decides 20%, but in USA, 44% for the education. This one is for very important. If you have many money, you can do the programs. Like I told you also about the teacher training, teacher qualification. If the poor teacher, the result will be poor. The result of the student will be poor also. So you should upgrade the improve the competency of the teacher, and also to curriculum based on the community curriculum that can be if the student graduate from this base from the university that use the community-based curriculum, they can easily find the work. If you easily find the work, you will be develop yourself and then develop your country and then develop your family and develop to the country. So important is the policy is to support the development of education. Indonesia also good about the teacher competence certification. It's one of to make the teacher to always struggle for the development. I think it's good. In Cambodia, we don't have. I don't know in Laos or in Vietnam, they have this one also. Because certification teacher is almost once 1 month salary that you can get the money in Indonesia. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very clear. Yeah, so we have to encourage teachers to be the professional by the program teacher professional, and the important thing also we should have a funding, yeah, because without funding we cannot implement well our program. Yeah. So as you recommend also for us about the, so UNESA should have a regional completion for teacher competencies. Yeah, yeah. So we will pass your message to our leader. Yeah, so we hope next we can have this collaboration again, yeah, with the CMO CHECHAP or with the CMO Secretariat. Yeah. And yeah, we can implement in the like a IA or implementation of arrangement. Yeah. So any question for next? Yeah. So another one, Pak Futi, according to Mr. Futi, how do we improve and upgrade skills during a pandemic like this? Please, Pak Futi.
Not according to me, but I seen synthesis from the presentation of the all minister from the from 11 minister of education in pandemic COVID-19. There's no way we have online learning. There's no way to do anymore. We have online learning. We have also e-learning. We have also the open learning. Open learning that you can send the book to, like in Vietnam, they send the hard copy to the student, and the student can learn, can follow the curriculum based on the national curriculum or school curriculum, because in Indonesia they have the framework of national curriculum.
Yeah.
And then the school develop the school curriculum based on the national curriculum. This, but in Cambodia, the national curriculum should be followed by the school, because maybe it's maybe not big countries. So the national curriculum, the school just follow the national curriculum. It's not developed by itself. But I think it's more better if your school can develop by itself. But online learning is the problem also for the teacher that have no ICT literacy and equipment and internet connection, even electricity. You know, some area only 2 hour electricity that can be. Some area no internet connection, to be climb to the mountain to get the connections and then follow the online learning. This is the country problems. According to the contextual of the location of the school, or this is the problem of the government should be develop all this one about internet connection, about the electricity. You know, in Indonesia, Indonesian is almost 100 year independent, but still have some area that only 2 hours a day electricity. So This is the function of the government. And then you should the online learning, and then ICT, digital literacy, because I even joined the training in UHAMKA to develop the video pembelajaran, learning video, and then they upload to the YouTube, because the school bandwidth is the school website cannot upload all the video also because of capacity, the money for paying, but paying for the website. So the teacher upload to the YouTube, and then parent download, and student, because early childhood is still young, they cannot do by themselves. So it's mostly depend on the parents. Parents should have the laptop, should have also the ability to download to facilitate the children. It's our function. University, Simeo Cecep, also the government should be think about this one. But for the connection is about the provider of telecommunication should be thinking about this one. Everything fiber optics can be facilitated. Thank you.
Yeah, Pak Futi, thank you so much for your very informative lesson and presentation today. Yeah, I hope all participants is already fulfilled with the answer from Mr. Futi. And for another questions, perhaps because we don't have enough time, so you can just text in this chat box, and we can give the answer in the group WhatsApp that we already create. So once again, thank you so much, Pak Futi.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, so so next, we are going for the next presentation, from Dr. Mercy Karunia, from the NIE, Singapore. And as Dr. Futi said, in this pandemic, parents have an important role, to nurturing and stand for our children. So this time, still related with the previous presentation, Dr. Mercy will present for us the presentation related with how parents standing for their children during this pandemic. So Dr. Mercy, please, time is yours.
Okay, let me resume here. All right, thank you everyone for the time and the opportunity today to actually speak to you on this topic. I want to share with you issues that we have been facing with regard to the pandemic. So we have a couple of areas that I want to talk about, and I want to focus basically on just a minute, all this chat box thing. Okay, here we go. I actually want to look at the parenting experience of pandemic, and how the pandemic has actually affected some of the parenting practices that parents have gone through. And then I also want to talk about how some families have managed to retain stability. So even though the pandemic has been buffeting them in many ways, some families have been able to cope and thrive throughout, right? So I want to talk about it. My data comes from one study that I'm currently working on where we are looking at children and families that come under the Kickstart program that the previous speaker was actually talking about. And I'm working with one anchor provider, and I'm looking at one center. So I'm looking at an in-depth study of 5 children. So the experiences shared by those parents is what I'm going to be sharing with you. Then the general understanding of the effect of the pandemic, I am taking it out from, number one, my own experience of being in the pandemic while this is happening. A couple of studies that have been done in the year 2020 and 2021 in Singapore about Singaporean. All right. And then, of course, like I said, from the study that we are doing. So that's where I'm getting my data from. So I've called it Pandemic Parenting and Stories of Woes and Overcoming. So I want to start with the woes first. Like, you know, what are the difficulties? What have parents been experiencing, and how has that affected the way they have been parenting? So there are 3 basic areas that I want to talk about. The first one, when I talk about troubles, right, what really affected parents? The first one is self, which is the well-being, because the well-being of the parent is very essential when we are talking about the well-being of the family, and then when we are talking about the well-being of the child. So what were the effects that parents were feeling? That's number one, that's well-being. The second one is I want to talk about the resources that have been constrained. So when I talk about resources, I'm talking about 3 basic areas. The first one is financial, the second one is energy, and the third one is time. So financial, yes, it's tangible, it's the money that I'm bringing in. Energy and time, I think they are more intangible than tangible. I can't really say this is what energy is, but parents have talked about how energy has been depleted and how time has been really quite, in some cases, is rubber time, it's stretching because I'm stuck at home and I can't really do much. But for other people, it is finite, right? The time is very finite and they're doing many, many things at the same time, and that's depleting their energy. So time becomes important, and how we understand time and how we manage that. And then I want to talk about relationships. So what are the strains and the tensions that is also exacerbating the effects of the pandemic? So this is the first half, which is the woes of the pandemic. Right? So when we talk about the self and we're looking at the overall well-being, parents in Singapore.
Dr. Mercy, pardon?
Yes.
Yeah, would you mind to make a slideshow your presentation?
Is that
because
okay.
Yeah, it's still not yet. Yeah.
Okay, give me a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this now on slideshow? Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay, give me a minute. I mean, I'm stop and redo it.
Yeah. Take your time.
Okay, give me a minute. I need to find it. Right. Okay. The problem is I have too many things on my screen, I think. Give me a minute. I will find it and put it back up on again. Okay. It's on my screen and let me share it. Okay. Okay, it's on slideshow mode now. Can you see?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. Only thing is I cannot find you all. Is it back up again?
No, yeah, no, it's back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yes.
Okay. So let me see, where was I? I was here, right? Okay. So we're looking at parents. Generally, when we look at the data, right, whether the parents came from poor or rather low income earning backgrounds, or parents who were generally middle income, they had some similar issues that they faced when it comes through the pandemic, right? The first thing is all parents basically said that there was increased anxiety. So the fear of illness, number one, the fact that you may get ill or your family may get ill, that was a major worry that affected the way they felt about their daily living. So there was increased anxiety. The second one was social isolation. In Singapore, I think initially when the the thing started, we didn't really go into social isolation until circuit breaker. So when we went into the circuit breaker period, it was really enforced. So people couldn't leave their homes, and they had to stay within that two people eat out kind of thing. So there was a lot of office closures. There was closures of traveling. Everything got curtailed, and so everyone was basically stuck at home. So what happened was the social isolation actually limited access to the usual persons who serve their support. So people lost their support centers, friends and family and things like that. And then we had also families where spouses were working overseas and couldn't come, or children who were in school overseas and couldn't come back. And so these were some issues that they faced. There was also a real fear of death, because there were family members who were ill and dying, and they couldn't meet them like in the homes they were in or in the hospitals. And then in the early part of the pandemic, even though the government had come in and said, look, we have enough food stocks and there's no need to worry about no consumables, right? There was this heightened worry, and people started buying things off the supermarket. So the supermarket shelves were actually really empty. And then, we had this struggle with toilet paper. Everyone was buying toilet paper and nobody knew why they were buying so much, right? So we had that problem. So there was this increased anxiety in the initial part of the pandemic. And then it was the married persons with young children who said they suffered greater anxiety, because young children, especially in primary school, the 7-year up to 12 years, like they couldn't go to school and they were kept at home. And the parents, yes, you can hear me, right? Okay, so they had,
yes, very clear.
Yeah, so they were kept at home, and that was some trouble that parents were facing. So increased anxiety. The next one was increased stress, and this is where we saw a real highlight to the mental health issues that happened, and it came out much clearer during the pandemic than it was before. So mothers with young children who had to work from home, right, were really stressed. And then we had the HBL stands for home-based learning, which means that children are at home with you at the same time, and they are learning on the laptops or on the computer, and you have to work at home on your own work. So mothers with young children really had this juggling act that they were doing, right? Being a caregiver, and then also have to do the work that you're expected to do because you're still getting paid. That stress was really heavy. So mothers were actually expressing mental health issues. And then obviously the financial health of families was drastically cut. Many people lost jobs. Many people were looking for new jobs because they lost old jobs, and they needed to look for new ones, which means they need to be trained. And the good thing about the Singapore government is they put in a lot of emphasis and money into retraining. So they actually subsidized a lot of it, opened up new industries, and tried to get people to come in. So the community and ground level work was there. So people were moving into new industries and retraining. But then retraining and moving into a new industry can be stressful too. So that added to the mental stress. Then obviously there was increased health problems because of the increased stress and anxiety. More people were falling ill, and so that was another issue that came up during this time period. That was happening. This was sometime in April, May 2020, at the height of the circuit breaker. So we had one of the key things that parents talked about was the fact that when we went into isolation, when we went into complete quarantine and cut, right, where there was lack of social connection, a lot of the self-care opportunities became really circumscribed. And this became way worse for families who were living in smaller spaces. So rental apartments. The rental apartments are really small. When you're looking about housing board flats, they're really small. And so if you had larger families living in rental, it means that there is minimally no space for you to be on your own and recoup or anything like that. There's always somebody in there, right? And so families were parents generally were getting very frustrated with the fact that they got really constrained in this. right? So if we had large families with multiple school-going children, then that space or time for self-care was also very severely affected. All right. So space inside the home was limited, and people couldn't go out because of the quarantine, right? You couldn't go out. So things like spas and all were not available. So people couldn't go like get their hair done or anything like that. It was all difficult, and entertainment options were also cut. Interestingly, in Singapore, we cordoned off all the playgrounds because they wanted to make sure that children don't mix and mingle, which means the children had no outlet too. So you can imagine if you have a young child at home who has all that energy but couldn't go to the playground, had to run around the house, and then you are trying to do your work and trying to get your housework done and getting the meals done. Yeah, it was really, really troubling at that point. And the usual relaxation places that didn't cost money, like for example, the beach and the parks were also closed off, right? Hawker centers were closed. Basically, food was limited to takeaway and delivery. So even a simple joy like going outside to the coffee shop, right, and having a coffee and a sandwich wasn't there. And so people were really getting frustrated. So let me share some images with you. So this one, if you notice, there are these cordons, and so the playground was completely not available. The beaches were closed off, and it's really, I personally felt really alone and bereft, because these are the places you go to get some sense of being alive and well. Like the beach, for instance, is one of my favorite places. But yeah, when you go there, you can't sit anywhere. All the barbecue pits are closed, and you can't really even walk on the sand. You just have to like walk along the paths just to have a look, and that's it. And it can be quite depressing, right? Food centers, at one point, yeah, and even now, now they allow 2 people to sit at the tables. But at that height, it was always empty. You have to buy and go. And this is the market. Again, everyone is masked, and there are these safe distance ambassadors. So these people who are hired by the government to remind people to maintain a 1 meter space, or wear your mask. And there's been a lot of tension with that too. So it has been a highly tensed environment for people generally, from circuit breaker period to even now. Now, just yesterday, we reverted back to 2 people at the eateries, 2 people anywhere, and you have to be separated by 1 meter distance, right? And then families cannot visit other families. It's only, I think, 2 unique visitors a day kind of thing, which again constrains all your face-to-face connections, again causing trouble for, not causing trouble, but more a lot of stress, when you can't have those connections that you have, those relationships that sustain you can't really see them. So that was one contributor. The next one, like I was telling you earlier, is resource limitation in energy and time. So finance was a major worry. So those of us who lost jobs or had to find new jobs had a cut in the income. So that was painful when you have to feed young families. That's really painful. And then energy dissipation, when I'm doing so many things at the same time, working with young children, trying to get my housework done, trying to get food done. Yeah, it was really a lot of energy loss, right? And then time limitation, right? So it was interesting because prior to the pandemic, a key finding was that only about 50% of Singapore's full-time employees rarely work from home. Everyone just went to the office. That was 50%. And then when the pandemic hit and when we went into the lockdown mode, right, everyone had to move into the work from home situation, which is the WFH situation, right? Which basically means your normal routines and rhythms of family life was completely disrupted. Now everybody was at home. Everyone was grappling with time and space. Right? So both, and then schools closed. So the Ministry of Education tried to keep the schools open for as long as they could safely do it. But the infection numbers were rising, and there was a clear worry that the children will get infected and will overwhelm the public health system. So they closed the schools. So they moved the parents into work from home. And then within about a week or 2, they closed the schools, which means now the children were at home. So it became really unbearable for some families. So there was this mental stress because I was competing caregiving, supervisory roles with employee productivity. This impacted the energy reserves of most parents. So they really felt like they had no time and they had so much things to do. So parents with young children, infants, and children with special needs especially were badly affected, right? So that's one. The financial woes, well, this data is coming from the study that I've listed out there for you. Monthly income actually fell an average of 7%, but there were about 17% of the 1,000 families that participated in this study who saw a decrease of income from 30% of their income. That's quite a sizable number. You know that the standard of living in Singapore is quite high, and most of us, we have house loans and car loans, and these things cannot be stopped. We need to continue paying these things. So he was eating a lot of money from what he could earn. Parents of all walks of life actually saw a drop in earnings during the swerve of the pandemic. So I'm looking at this swerve, which is 2020 to 2021. Most of them, almost all of us, saw some drop in income. Now, the sectors that were very badly affected were service sectors and then self-employed persons. You will note that when we look at low income earning families, families that are served by the Kickstart program, most of them come from the service sector, the lower end of the service sector, and then of course self-employed people. And these were the two sectors that got hardly hit. So people lost jobs. And then retraining to replace the jobs, but it put pressure on individuals to study and train in unfamiliar industries, so that again increased the anxiety and stress. So what is the impact of this? So you see the parents are really, really stressed and in a hard place. So how did that affect the way they're actually talking to their kids? So this is what happened. Parents actually reported that it impacted both parenting practices as well as marital bonds. It was affecting the relationship between husband and wife too, right? So financial, mental, and other concerns had substantial number of parents who were now moving into the more authoritarian parenting style, which means they used a lot of punitive punishments like beating their children. There was a lot of yelling and shouting in the home, which happened because everyone is now under one roof and in close quarters, right? And parents reported using a lot of harsh words with their children, which meant that the family relationship between parent and child was hurt, really hurt during this time period. We also saw, sadly, a number of family violence, domestic violence cases going up because families were confined. And there was also a slight increase in divorce rates, but we cannot completely say pandemic was responsible for that, but we did see that. So in summary, everyone, there were 5 stresses: social isolation, the restriction on travel within the country and outside of the country, worry about family members' health and safety. This was a key problem. Worry about their own health and safety. And then, of course, the general inconvenience of working and doing business during this time raised the stress levels of almost the whole population, right? So given this situation, my interest was to find out why did some families manage this better than other families. So I want to talk about the resilience. And here, I'm specifically looking at the specific factors in Singapore which help to improve family stability. And I'm getting my data, everyone, from the study that I've been doing with the low-income earning families. So that's where these ideas are coming from. And they're still for us, it's still in preliminary stage. We haven't completed the study, so we're still putting things together, but this is the preliminary finding, all right? So we have a number of factors. I want to talk about the factors that allowed the family to remain somewhat stable. The first one was actually emotional support from extended families and friends. So even though social isolation was there, everyone, in Singapore, the internet connection and networks are pretty well established and they are affordable. So most of our families, right, have internet, and we have the newfangled devices, everything. So we have them, right? Even though face-to-face connection was limited, we did have the internet connection and the mobile devices. So families stayed connected. All right. So the social isolation for many families, right, was not that overwhelming. They stayed connected. One of the important things we need to note on why this was happening was because our government actually subsidized internet costs for low-income families. So they could actually get extra money, or they paid less to keep the internet thing going. They didn't get cut off, right? And for children in multiple children homes, the government actually subsidized or got them devices. So they had little laptops that they could work with. And after the whole pandemic experience, the Singapore government is also rolling out, the ministry is rolling out devices, laptops for every child, We're doing that for the primary and the secondary, and it's I think it started rolling out recently, and it will be extended to every child who's in our public education system. So they will get their own laptop. So all of this basically means they can continue in the new normal to study and still build a social connection. So this is important because without the emotional support, families break down faster. So in Singapore, we use this and it seems to be working. It may throw up other problems, like when we are giving our children devices, we still have to worry about other problems that come. I think we are looking at it, at least the ministry is looking at it, from a bird's eye view to see where else they can manage this. It may mean new skills for parents to learn on how to manage technology in their children's lives, but that's forthcoming. So emotional support was somewhat restored, even though people were curtailed from meeting each other. Then the Singapore government actually ruled out billions of dollars actually to buffer the income loss. And they really, really did their level best to keep the low income earning families floating, right? Because if they got desperate and they didn't have any money, we're going to have like starvation and things like that. Money was rolled out, the community organizations came in, the voluntary welfare organizations came in, and we managed to keep the food and consumables running. So many, even private individuals basically just helped to keep people off the starvation road. So that was happening to a large extent. Government actually did help stem the kinds of desperation and depression that can come when you have no money, right? So they did that, and they tried to buffer their best. And I personally feel that they were not they did it with forethought, and they did it with reach, and so that many families actually could pull on government support to tide them over. The thing with our philosophy of help in Singapore is we need you where you need the help, and then we support you to make sure that you can tide over that time, and then we prepare you to make sure that you live independently, right? So that's the government's ethos when it comes to how we push our families or our individuals to take responsibility, personal responsibility. But during this pandemic time, I think what came out was the government's efforts to reach into the lives of each and every individual, right, in Singapore became far more apparent, and they came across as a compassionate government rather than a very bureaucratic government, which was good for the people actually. So that was one thing. What I want to also talk about was when we talk about school, right? In my study especially, we looked at how the preschools were supporting families from low-income backgrounds. It was interesting because the schools really stepped up. Because most of the time when we have low-income earning families, they sometimes feel very helpless when factors around them, right, seems to be working against them. So they turned to the school, and the schools stepped up. So what they did was we had what we call that leaders within the school who actually help parents with resume writing. They actually help them with the resume writing. They help them with the job hunting. They tried to send them to different job fairs. They did the groundwork so that parents could find a job. They don't have to feel depressed and helpless, so they did that. We also saw many schools actually started arranging for vital food supplies. So they connected with community organizations or VWOs for extra food, and then got this supplied to homes so that people didn't go without food. So we had that. So they also, along with that, did help with the schooling costs. So in some schools, what they did was they prepared the hard copy schoolwork for their children, and the parents came to physically collect the hard copy and took it back home. So they found that the children were not doing well with the online learning. They at least had the hard copy. So parents took the responsibility, and the schools stepped up to provide these services. So these sorts of help coming in, parents could maintain. They could actually maintain, number one, their standard of living somewhat, and then they also managed to help their children learn. So they sort of navigated the pandemic. Obviously, we know that some families do just better than others. So there were some families with existing personal resources, and they took that first. So those that had savings and other resources, they actually managed to out of hunger, right? they had the resources to pull through. So these families survived. This contributed to their stability. And the other thing is, when we noticed is when one of the parents managed to keep their job and the other lost it, right? They were still able to keep it going. So the families that at least had one person working in a stable income, even if it is reduced, still managed to keep the families running. So that was personal resources, right? And I noticed that those who had the will to make the change by going and taking on a new job or taking on a new vocation, many of them started doing home-based businesses for food and things like that, because that really picked up during the pandemic. They managed to push through, right? So these are the factors that allowed, the stability to continue. So the families were not shaken so much, and that really helped the children, right? So what was the silver lining? The silver lining was, because everybody was living in one place and had to deal with each other, many families said that they found the pandemic helped them see their children in a different light. That means they got to know their child because they didn't farm them out to school and they didn't go out to work. They were there at home. They learned about their children. They got to love their children more and they bonded more. So that was happening because the pandemic forced them to stay at home. So the families which felt, they saw that, I have my child here with me. I know my child. I'm getting to know my child. They took active interest in knowing their children. Those families actually were able to build a stronger bond with their child. So they did it intentionally. They didn't react to the pandemic. They responded to it. They did it intentionally and they said, okay, I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to learn about my child. I'm going to build my relationship with him. And so they did that. Okay, so that was happening. It was also realized that many parents at this time, because of the stress, they were able to see that they were behaving in a very hostile manner to their children, and they saw that, so they stopped. They mentally saw that they were being hostile, and they actually then started being a little bit more conscious in their parenting. So they did it themselves. It came from inside. They saw it. They saw they were behaving in a particular manner, and they wanted to stop it, so they did it themselves, right? And many of them went to online learning resources on how they can parent better because they made it free. All these major universities had courses running free, so parents could find these resources, and many actually took advantage of it, right? So parents who did this intentionally, who said, okay, you know what? I don't have a choice now. I'm at home. I've got my children. I've got my husband. We're all working together. We need to make it through. So they did it intentionally. They let go of daily distractions and irritations. So just let it slide, right? And they started to build bonds together by doing communal activities. They ended up having shared meal times. They started playing more board games, and they went outdoors. Because in Singapore, you can unmask when you go outdoors. When you're in exercise mode, you can unmask, which basically means everyone just went out to do cycling, or slow walking, or jogging with their children. And that also helped build the bonds. Another interesting policy in Singapore is grandparent care. Because both parents are working, most of the time the grandparents come in. So local policy during the pandemic time actually allowed grandparents to continue caring for their grandchildren, even when it was two different households. So when it's two different households, initially it was difficult. They didn't want to do the mixing and the mingling, but they allowed grandparents care. And that meant a lesser worry for parents because they knew the child is under dependable care, right? And they also could keep an eye on their parents because we have an aging population. So it was important for parents to also care for their own parents. And by keeping this window open, policy-wise, the government actually helped parents feel a little bit more in control, right? Which is very important. So let me just end, everyone, with some thoughts on family stability. And this is mostly my thoughts, all right? As I said, so forces outside the family can actually buffet and destabilize the family, which is outside, what's happening around the family, right? By cutting earnings or other resources. But I found that families could still move towards stability when they leverage on internal resources. So things like faith, in God, whichever God that they believed in, but they felt that God was on their side, right? That's one. And those of them who went forward and said, hey, what now, what may, and I'm just going to go forward, confidence that things will change. It's not going to be like this for the rest of my life. This is just one period. I'm going to overcome this, and the rest of my life is going to be good. They had that confidence. And it was interesting because some of the parents noted that difficult times actually gave them a choice. they could either grow together or they could grow apart. They chose to grow together. So it was intentional, everyone. If you want to keep the family stability going, there is a need for intentionality, and there is a need for support for parents because they are the ones who are making that decision. So on that level, I think Singapore approached this in a multi-pronged way, and they did their level best to keep parents floating, right? But on the other side, sadly, the pandemic also made some fissures apparent. Families which were not doing well, there were cases of abuse and hostility. These families fell apart. But that falling apart for me, I think, this is my personal opinion, meant that a healing could happen. Mothers actually moved into shelters or they filed for divorce, but it means they moved away from a very hard, painful experience and decided to say that I'm going to do my life differently. And the resources were provided for them and they could take that initiative. So the pandemic, I think, had this impact on parenting, but how it impacted them very much depended on what the parents thought they could do. So the resources around them, the ecosystem, right? We were looking at school, we were looking at workplaces, we were looking at government policy, exo and macro system, actually did support parents to a large extent. So especially the ones who are living, on hand to mouth kind of income, they did get supported so that they don't go deeply into depression, but try and overcome. So that was our experience from the studies that we've done. So that's what I wanted to share with you, everyone. So let me just stop here. Right, thank you, everyone. That's as much as I wanted to share with you. Let me move my camera back here. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Dr. Mercy. It's such a very informative lesson, yeah, for us and for all also the pre-teacher, yeah, the pre-teacher. They are the future teacher and future mom as well, yeah, later. And today I think if I can underline the three part of this concern of your presentation in the financial, yeah, so the family obstacles and woes, such a financial, energy and time and relationship, yeah, it's already under your study, yeah, in the previous study, right? Of course, in the Singaporean parents and family, yeah. So here I like to give you the chance to ask, yeah, deliver your question to our outstanding speakers and expert, of course, in ECE, yeah. And you can ask anything, but because we don't have enough time, so I just limit for the 2 questions at least. Yeah, so please. All right, yeah, here I think, yeah, I think one of a question here, yeah. So the question is actually how could the parents, they can manage the time, how they work, they have a work at home, and in the meantime as well, they have to give a concern to their children. So Mercy, please.
Right, so I think that has been the key problem, everyone. I think the resources differ from family to family. How can they care? I think it's important for parents to decide. I mean, this is my own personal opinion. What's important? That means they have to prioritize the work that they have to do. What is important of the work? They cannot do everything. So one thing that came up for us in this pandemic experience was the fact that because people were working online and working remotely, they were actually doing more work than they would normally do when they went to work. And they were accessible 24/7 because they could, like, they're on the line, right? So people connected to them. So one of the important things that came, or at least from experience, is that don't answer all your emails. You don't necessarily have to answer all your emails. It's important to prioritize that time. So it means that your children are home and lunchtime is important and dinner time is important. You have to prioritize that time. So you have to know what aspects of your work you need to do first, so that you do not sacrifice the time with your family for work. That's important, that's intentional, and only you would know of your work, what is important, what you can do the next day. So prioritizing. It became something, because you are so accessible, looks like people were online the whole day. It came, people were saying, I'm working, and you're working. That kind of thing needs to come from you. You need to decide. That's one. And for me, I think spending time with children. Okay. So when I work and I have classes to teach, I have my son with me in the room. So he's 3. So he sits with me until my husband comes back or my mom comes. So I still have the grandparents coming in to help. All right. So like today is Saturday. He's at home. So he's at my mom's house and I'm in my office to do this, because it's difficult when you have a very young child. And that's a problem most of us face. So the grandparent pathway was kept open. It was very, very, I think, good for most families. So when do you need the other party to come in to help you? So that's how most mothers managed. Who else is going to come in and care for the child? And the other thing is, of course, I think you can't run away from the fact that you have young children. They are going to be in your way when you're working. So routine is important. When you put them to sleep, when it's time for lunch and dinner, when I prioritize. And these are some things I think we as working mothers can look into. And then the interesting thing that came out was the spouses, the men in Singapore have decided that they will be more useful in the home now with the pandemic. So families report that the fathers are pulling their weight in the amount of houseworking and caregiving. So that's actually working out quite good, I think, in the long run. Hopefully that will continue with our male population after we go back to endemic situation. But that's my personal wish. I don't know whether all men are going to do it, but we have noted the men are putting in more effort in child caring, housework, and things like that, which is great news, right? So that's happening also. So I think prioritizing everyone, looking at what's important for that job, for that day. Perhaps we can look at what Raju said earlier about journaling, what is important. I think it's the same thing that holds, right? We need to do that. And then being less irritated with young children moving in and out of your way. That's important, because they will be in your way. They will want to play when you want to do work and things like that. So your own personal practice of patience and, and for me, the meditative practice actually helps, because you keep your mind not so frazzled. So that's personal. If you want to use that, you can. So you can fall back on those things that are, mandated by your faith on how you want to do it. It actually helps. Those are my personal opinions. They're not research-based. They're my personal opinions.
Yeah, very great, Mercy. I think the one important thing is prioritizing, right? Yeah, as Mr. Raju also said like that, we have to make a target and shortlist all our activities. Yeah, which one is most important for us, and which one is we have to prioritize. And we also thanks because you have been here with us, and you make our event as a prioritize of your activities today. Thank you so much. Dr. Mercy. And I think this time almost done, right? Because we will end this event at 12. So if I can take a brief summary for these 3 presentations, I can say this education in this global pandemic actually should be done by all the elements, such as government, school, family, and the society itself. And also this education can be the full support in all the areas in education at itself needs. So right, I'm sorry, just interrupt by the phone. I think it's all our presentations today, and in the end of a presentation, if I can say the wise word from the Benjamin Franklin, and he said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Yeah, so education is a very best investment for us, and also our young children also the best investment for all the parents in this world. Yeah. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mercy, Dr. Itfuti, and Mas Raju. Yeah, he has been left, because has something important to do. Yeah, and also the representative from Siameo Secretariat. Yeah, thank you so much, and also the college from Dr. Itfuti. Yeah, I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. Yeah, thank you so much for today, and I back to our MC before, and our dean perhaps will close this event. Yeah, MC.
Thank you, Ms. Wulan. Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, we have had an inspiring time together, and this event is about to come to the end. To close this webinar, I would like to now call upon Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim, MPD, as the Dean of the Faculty of Education, to present us with the closing speech and ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim, MPD.
Perhaps our dean is not here yet because we have a graduation ceremony today, and I just try to call him, but I cannot reach him. Yeah, so MC, you can go for the end of this session, please. You might be.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bulan. Sorry. Now, I will leave you with a quote by Stewart Brand, an author and innovative thinker, who once said, "We can see the past but not influence. We can influence the future but not see it." Let us be guided by all the things we have learned and heard throughout the conference, and be able to see and influence our future.
Yeah, MC, pardon, perhaps our Vice Dean in Academic Affairs will be represent for on behalf our Dean, Pak Wadek. Hello, Pak Wadek. Yeah, I think everyone knows it's hectic with this ceremonial of the graduation. So just please go on. Ya, silakan diteruskan aja, Immanuel, karena Pak Dekan dan Pak WD masih di acara seremonial wisuda.
Okay, Ms. Wulan, thank you. Let us be guided by all the things we have learned and heard throughout the conference, and be able to see and influence our future. Thank you, and thank you very much. And before we part, please accept this first from us. Kalau ada jarum yang patah, jangan disimpan di dalam peti. Kalau ada silap dan salah, harap sudi memaafkan kami. This joke means, please forgive us for our shortcoming till we meet again, perhaps at the next conference. May all of you stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Mercy, Dr. Futi.
Okay,
Don't have group photo.
Oh, yeah.
before-
Yes.
Before we leave this room, participant request, ladies and gentlemen, please open your camera. Okay, everyone, are you ready?
Yeah, we can count from 3, 2, 1. All right, so next slide. Please, host, take a picture.
Okay, once again. 3, 2, 1. Okay, next slide. Smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Next slide. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bu Nurul.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pak Futi.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bu.
Mercy.
Thank you, Pak Putih. Mr. Putih, makasih. Thank you.
Jangan bosan-bosan, Pak Futi. Ya,
Kita Surabaya
Mercy.
lagi, Pak.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ya, bye, Mercy. See ya.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, merci.
Yeah, everyone, you might leave this platform.
Izin live.
Ya, Pak Futi, silakan. But don't forget to fill the link attendance, yeah, in order to obtain your certificate. Oke, saya izin live ya, panitia. Bu Nurul, terima kasih sudah join.
Terima kasih, Bulan.
Ya, oke Bun, izin live ya Bun.
Ya, sama-sama.
Terima kasih, Bunda.
Terima kasih, Bunda.
Yeah, from overseas participants, once again, thank you so much from Cambodia, Thailand, Philippines, German, Swiss, and other countries that I cannot mention you by one by one. Once again, we really appreciate for your kind participate for our event today. Thank you very much.
Buat peserta semuanya, jangan lupa untuk absensi ya. Link absennya sudah ada di chat.
Permisi Kak, mau tanya.
Bagi peserta yang sudah mengisi link absen, boleh meninggalkan ruang Zoom-nya. Terima kasih.
Oke Kak, terima kasih.